this event, it is customary for the Dean of the College to remark on the anticipated work in the year to come. But first, I think it's important to take a look backward. The college completed a very productive year in 2010-11. The core curriculum task force convened many meetings of faculty and committee members to do their work. It's one of the best examples of open dialogue and conversation about who we are as a college and a university. The committee crafted a set of learning outcomes that can be mapped onto the 7 broader learning outcomes of the college and eventually to the 6 outcomes of the university. This work represents the first phase of a planned 4-year effort to put into operation a revised core curriculum. A subset of task force members worked through the summer to ready the first year's work for faculty approval at the October 4th meeting of the Faculty Senate. And I would especially like to thank Drs. Kevin Graham and Holly Ann Harris for their really splendid leadership of this task force. Kevin, Holly, would you stand here? Mike Cherney has been tireless in the development of the new energy technology program. I don't know if the man sleeps, whatever. In addition, a core group of faculty has met in spring and summer to craft integrated lab-based student learning experiences for the program. Other faculty members have provided outstanding leadership in considering and finally approving the curriculum of the program. And again, I would like to especially recognize the work of Dr. Randy Christ, who served as chair of the curriculum committee, and all the members of the curriculum committee who worked on that program. The first cohort of 14 students joined the program this summer, and they spent several weeks preparing for the innovative work that they're going to do and the kind of innovative pedagogy that will underlie the courses that they'll experience. Tess Edmonds, who is a recent graduate of the Olin College of Engineering, has joined the program as the lab instructor. I was at Olin this spring, and I talked to the dean of the college, and he said, "I hear that Tess Edmonds is going to work for you." And I said, "Yes, we're very privileged to have her." And he said, "You should realize how privileged you are. She's one of our top 5 graduates of our program, and she could walk on MIT in a moment and take a job." So to have somebody of Tess's talent here, I think, is immense help for us as we build this program. She brings her experience as a student in this integrated project-focused learning program in the design of the program. I would like to ask Mike and Tess, I don't see them in the audience, but if they are here, I'd like to ask them to stand and be recognized. Mike, they're teaching? Okay. What else? So, I'd also like to recognize some notable group successes. The Departments of Journalism, Mass Communication, and Computer Science effected a merger into a new Department of Journalism, Media, and Computing last year. And I'd like to compliment all of the faculty members who were involved in this effort, but I'd especially like to recognize the leadership of Drs. Eileen Worth and Dave Reed in bringing these 2 groups of faculty together. A really commendable effort. I'd also like to recognize the work of the College Mission Implementation Committee under the leadership of Reverend Dick Hauser. They have articulated a set of charisms, and they're going to be around to the departments this year. These charisms are based on the work and teachings of Ignatius of Loyola, and they can serve as a set of guideposts in our efforts to understand and articulate our Catholic Jesuit mission. And finally, I would like to recognize the many significant contributions of faculty members to the scholarship of the various disciplines that are present today. I think truly 2010-11 was a very, very productive year for the college. Of course, the biggest news of the academic year is the arrival of the new president, Reverend Timothy Ryan Lannon of the Society of Jesus. As I am sure almost all of you know by now, Father Lannon returns to Omaha after serving 8 years as the president of St. Joseph's University. Brings a freshness of perspective, presidential experience, and new ideas that I think in a lot of ways bring hope to us as administrators, faculty, and staff. Father Lannon had a previously scheduled engagement and could not join us today. However, I'd like to strongly encourage the staff to attend his open listening session that's scheduled for Wednesday, September 21st at 11:30 a.m. And Father Lannon will be available to talk to the faculty of the college on Thursday, October 6th at 3:30 p.m. Again, this is a wonderful opportunity to have a dialogue with our new president, and I strongly encourage all of you to attend, as many as possible. So what can we expect in the way of new themes in the first year of Father Lannon's presidency? Without stealing his thunder, so to speak, I share a few of the more frequently discussed ideas that have emerged among deans and vice presidents in the conversations with Father Lannon present. The concept one Creighton likely reflects a commitment to retaining the wholeness of the two academic divisions of the university. And we've had some tensions and some frictions in this, but I think this represents a kind of commitment to keep those elements in balance. But I think it also reflects the continuity of the current student body with a larger group of graduates who constitute our alums. Today we get to celebrate some of the contributions of our alumni. There's a very rich heritage there that I think we can learn from, and I want to talk to that more today. Some additional themes. Father Lannon has, in a very focused way, reminded the deans and vice presidents that Creighton is about providing excellent student learning and patient service experiences. We'll continue to do that with mission in mind, and we will be expected to continue to develop our sense of that mission. Transparency, performance, and accountability are three watchwords that will become more frequent in our daily lexicon with Father Lannon present. In a one-on-one conversation, Father Lannon asked me as Dean of the College, how innovative and ready to embrace change are we, the faculty of the college? That will be the topic of my remarks today. So, finally, in summary, the phrase that you're likely to hear from the new president is this: there is no other university quite like us. And I think it takes into account some of the uniqueness of doing what we do, who we are, what we do. You should expect some new ways of doing things over the next several years. If you're going to hear the phrase responsibility-centered budgeting frequently as we shift our budgeting model from what is largely an expense budget to a revenue-based system. Now, this won't happen quickly. This is a 3 to 5 year process, so it takes a while to build and grow. Excellence in academics will be defined not only in our work in redeveloping our core education, but it will also be present in the integration of undergraduate and graduate professional programs. And finally, I think you should expect to hear a lot more about performance indicators as we embrace mission-informed accountability. I want to focus my remarks this afternoon on the issue of innovation and change, if I may. And in doing so, I would like to address 3 issues. First, integrating technology with the disciplines of the arts and sciences. Second, skills that give Creighton Arts and Science graduates a competitive advantage, whether in the workforce, in graduate school, or professional programs of study. And third, fostering an attitude of continuing education. First of all, integrating technology in the arts and sciences. Many years ago, when it took a special air-cooled room to house a computer as large as 2 Thermador stoves, and I was an undergraduate, professor of philosophy, Thomas, as I recall, said this: there are subjects that are useful, but not so inherently valuable, and there are subjects that are valuable, but not so very useful. He anchored his dichotomy with computer science as useful, and his own discipline of philosophy as valuable. Now, I'm not here to debate the merits of his placement of disciplines on that continuum, but it always has stuck with me that in the arts and sciences we have a commodity of great value, even if we sometimes eschew the usefulness of what we teach. Of course, wonderful advancements have been made in the intervening years, and now we could not fathom doing our work without the support of the same piece of technology, albeit more powerful, that now fits into a backpack. Yet, I have been struck by the observations of several colleagues who have expressed concern that our undergraduates have more technology-based learning before their arrival at Creighton than they do while they are at Creighton. Now, I know that this can be variable across departments, but it does give us pause for self-reflection. Are we behind the curve in educating our students to integrate technology with their education in the arts and sciences? Why might this be important to our students? I cite a headline that recently appeared in the Wall Street Journal. Certainly, jobs is the key word of the present times. Without reading the article, I immediately connected 3 words: jobs, technology, and art. Of course, a closer read of the article brought a more specific focus. To be clear, this is not an advertisement for or an endorsement of Apple Computer. But it does give us reason to ponder the amazing advancements from 1985 through 2006 and 2008, as these three pictures represent. And importantly, I think, to reflect on the rise of the information age and the very different ways in which we do our information searches, enrich our communications, and conduct the critical analyses of data within our disciplines. In July and August, a group of faculty members from the Nanjing Art Institute spent several weeks with the Energy Technology Program under the sponsorship of the Asia World Center. In one of his addresses, Dr. Zhao Yu Ho, Vice President of Academic Affairs at the Institute, spoke about the joining of physics and art. I was struck by the transformative outcome of joining technology and art. Clearly, Dr. Ho spoke about something that was more than the sum of the parts. Here again, we have the theme of expressing the content and essence of arts and sciences discipline through tangible technology. Given the advances of technology and the learning opportunities that it presents, I suggest a reframing of my honored professor's thesis. Namely, how can we combine technology and the arts and sciences to produce transformative learning experiences for our students? From this perspective, the value and the usefulness can be transformative. Our goal then is to build on the technological training of students arriving at Creighton to provide them with even more useful technological skills to engage their valuable arts and sciences knowledge. So my first challenge to you is this: how can we better and more intentionally integrate technology with the arts and sciences to provide those excellent student learning experiences? The second area of innovation and change that I would like to address are the skills that give Creighton Arts and Sciences graduates a competitive advantage, whether in the work world or in graduate or professional study. The word apps has become a frequent term in this era of smartphones. We've got a number of linguists in the audience here. Has it yet made the Oxford Dictionary as a regular word? Does anyone know? Yeah, I don't know. But it's used every day, and it soon will show up as one of those accepted words. I like to use the word's connotations to frame the knowledge, skills, and values that will help our graduates be successful in the tasks, the projects, and the assignments that they're going to encounter in their life after Creighton. Certainly, the joining of technology, arts, and sciences is one manifestation, but we also should ask whether and in what ways our graduates have become effective problem solvers. Critically, they've learned to complement the skills of fellow team members in attempting to complete an assignment. But how well do they do that? Right now, we have two major initiatives that address those knowledge, skills, and values in a very focused way. The integrated project-focused learning approach of the New Energy Technology Program, and I think the college commitment to provide faculty, mentored student research experiences. And while it's nice to have an academic program that provides the students an opportunity to study a technological field, it's even more exciting to me what we will learn from this very innovative pedagogy. I say to you, examine the program for how it teaches differently. Are there elements of this pedagogy that might work in your teaching? As for student inquiry and student research, how do we make more of these opportunities available to students? Should some variant of this experience be a part of every student's learning opportunity at Creighton? But what else do we need to teach ourselves about these so-called work apps? Can we tap the experience of our alumni and their employers to better understand what is both useful and valuable? And so, my second challenge to you. Thirdly, I would like to briefly address how we can foster with our students an attitude that their lifetimes be characterized by endless continuing education. As faculty members, we traditionally tend to think in terms of courses, curriculum, and programs when we design learning opportunities. Certainly that's one important parameter of our provision of continuing learning opportunities. We can expect to hear a renewed emphasis on integrating undergraduate and graduate professional programs currently in existence at Creighton. And we can expect efforts to develop new programming at the postgraduate level. And without stealing the Vice President's thunder, I think we can expect to hear more about how we could bring students to Creighton as undergraduates with incentives that will continue their education with us in their postgraduate programs at Creighton. Continuous learning experiences have certain features that are embedded within learning programs. Again, using integrated project-focused learning example, we might examine the concept of just-in-time knowledge. And specifically, we might ask, what do I need to know to solve this problem? The age of the information, the information age is such that the content, the quantity of information is almost too enormous to grasp until we need to know it within particular context. How can we train our students to reliably and effectively access that knowledge to be able to use it within the context in which they work? In mentored student research, we guide our students to pose the question, what have other researchers done with regard to this topic? And how do my findings fit with those of others? Probably there's much to learn by studying the decisional processes of our alumni as they seek to selectively learn the work apps that are relevant to them and that are most likely to yield the greatest impact on their work. I submit to you that there's much to do in both scholarship and in teaching and pedagogy in this area. And it's something which, if we do well, we can be recognized, as a leader among other arts and sciences colleges. If the arts and sciences contain valuable information about what it means to be human, how can we meet another need of our alumni? Two analytically oriented psychiatrists of the early 20th century, forgive me, I have to work something in my background in psychology here, but two analytically oriented psychiatrists, Viktor Frankl and Carl Jung, respectively examined the role that a search for meaning and the need to unify opposites in our personalities plays in adult human development. Both say that these are increasing needs as we age. I would assert that we, as professors in the arts and sciences, have much to offer to meet the needs of our alumni in these domains. Can we develop learning programs, not necessarily courses, curricula, and degree programs, but programs that will address the needs of these alumni? Not 3-hour credit courses, but incredible learning experiences nonetheless. And can we be creative in doing so? And so my third challenge to you, how can we provide useful and valuable continuing education beyond the undergraduate experience? I would hope that we can engage these three challenges in reflecting on, learning about, and planning our student learning experiences. There are many impediments to innovation and change, but let us not be accused of being poor in spirit or, more concretely, lacking in ideas. We do a lot already, so we ask, what good things do we need to give up in order to be even better? We know how to be competitively successful ourselves. Will we learn more about the skills that will provide our students with a competitive edge? Finally, as action agents, what experience can I bring forth that will contribute to meeting the needs of our alumni? I think in doing so, we're emboldened by a reflection on our strengths as a college. There is an immense talent here, whether in students, among the faculty, among the staff. We have a record of being successful at most things that we try. And perhaps most importantly, we know what is important to how we educate. Mission, scholarship, a sense of collegiality and community in what we do. Thank you, and have an innovative and change-filled year. It's now time to present the Alumni Merit Award for the College of Arts and Sciences, and I invite Assistant Vice President for Alumni Relations, Anna Newell, to come forward.
Good afternoon. Each year, Creighton University confers Alumni Merit Awards upon men and women across all schools and colleges who have brought great honor to this institution. The awardee must be distinguished by special service to the community, out his or her personal, civic, church, or professional duties in a most exemplary manner. He or she must typify the Creighton Credo in a special way. Today we honor William J. Rowe from the class of 1976 as a recipient of the 2011 Alumni Merit Award for the College of Arts and Sciences. Ladies and gentlemen, I ask you to turn your attention to the screen for a special video tribute to Mr. Rowe.
William J. Rowe has spent his entire professional life using his knowledge of chemistry to meet real-world needs, to create jobs, to reduce America's dependence on petroleum. Born in Holdridge, Nebraska, and a Fremont High School graduate, Bill came to Creighton and graduated in 1976 with a degree in chemistry. After Creighton and getting a master's degree at Notre Dame, Bill went to Chicago. He began a 29-year career with the world's largest provider of industrial water treatment chemicals and process additives. Nalco also recognized Bill's leadership skills. He became Chief Executive Officer and President in 2001. In 2007, Bill moved on to new challenges as President and CEO of the biotech-oriented firm Coscata. The Massachusetts Institute of Technology has named Coscata one of the 50 most innovative companies in the world. Its long-term goals are to create environmentally sustainable energy solutions.
There's really three things that I think drive what we're doing here at Coscata. One, there is a need to replace some of these types of materials, particularly fuels, because today we're importing so much from places that aren't as friendly to the United States as we would otherwise like them to be. The jobs that are created here is another factor. These are jobs that cannot get exported. And finally, there is definitely an environmental component because these processes that we can utilize are much more environmentally friendly. It's really cutting edge in terms of being able to convert these types of feedstock materials that we can either grow or gather locally. Things like wood waste or construction debris, agricultural waste, and convert them very cost effectively to something as desirable as transportation fuel. It has to compete. It isn't enough that it's green. It isn't enough that it's a replacement. It actually has to be competitive. And that's sort of the tiger that we have by the tail right now with this technology that we've developed.
Bill Rowe is passionate about the use of technology to improve the human condition. He is sharing his expertise as an advisory board member of the Creighton Energy Program.
The consistent theme that's run through the decades that Creighton has been doing this is the fact that they prepare people completely to understand not only how to do something in their life, but also to run a balanced scorecard. It isn't just about what you do in your job, it's about what you do in your community, it's what you do holistically and spiritually. And Creighton creates that scorecard mentality at a very early age during a very formative time.
University College of Arts and Sciences is proud to confer the 2011 Alumni Merit Award upon William J. Rowe.
Thank you so much for those kind words. When I first learned of this several months ago, I was literally thrilled with the very notion. I don't know what the selection process is, but I can tell you it's brilliant. bright spots in my life. A lot of the bright spots I can trace back here to Creighton, and I'm not saying that for effect. It really is the truth. I think about the things that I've done in my career and that I want to continue to do in my career, and the decisions that had to be made as I set myself on that course. And those decisions were made here on the Creighton campus, unequivocally, and the preparation that has allowed me to do some of the things that I've enjoyed doing so much, that preparation came from here. Another bright spot for me has been the opportunity to show leadership over the course of time. I've become sort of a student of leadership, and I think about the leadership opportunities that I've had in my life, and I can trace them back, again, in meaningful ways to things as simple as being an RA in Swanson Hall or being president of the SAE fraternity. Those are things that helped me understand what it means to associate with people and lead other people. The whole notion of a work-life balance, very hard thing to manage, but a thing that we all have to manage. I learned that here at Creighton. If you don't have a work-life balance, work in a major university can eat you alive, and you know all that better than I do. And I think more recently, my wife Kathy and I have a bright spot in our life, because now we're in a position where we can do the proverbial giving back, and there's lots of ways to give back. And as we all know, Creighton lives and breathes this idea of giving back. The brightest spot in my life is my marriage. And those of you who don't know me or Kathy, Kathy is also a Creighton grad. I met Kathy 39 years ago on the steps of the admin building. As we were going in, back in those days, you had to go and run a fire drill to get registered for classes in the admin building. And I saw Kathy up ahead on the steps, and I turned to my friend who was standing next to me, and I said, "I must meet that girl." And the rest, as they say, is history. It means so much to me as I think about the influence that Creighton has had on our lives, to be honored in this way. I'd like to thank Dr. Lueger, I'd like to thank Anna, I'd like to thank the alumni group, I'd like to thank all the events planning people who are making this a very special day for me and for Kathy. And I would also like to thank all of you who clearly are working so hard to make this university something that we as alumni can be so proud of. Thank you all very much.
I think in terms of a career that exemplifies innovation and change, Bill Rowe has manifested that in so very many ways. And some of the themes that I was reflecting on sort of developed independently as I reflected on this. It was what a wonderful person to have to honor, within this thematic set of ideas. There's a reason why we have this this event here in Scott Center, and I want you to appreciate sort of the element of planning that goes into this. As I think a lot of you know, we're being conservative with our budget these days with respect to food items, but we had to make a choice. We could either have this event in Harper with food and no alcohol, or we could have it here with alcohol and light food. So, we're here. So, is that what this is? I want to thank all of you for being here today. If you have a chance to meet our honorees today, please do so. But we've got time to mingle and enjoy and have kind of refresh and renew some acquaintances with each other. So, again,